Yo, what's going on, everybody? Week 18, we're celebrating, man. Into the regular season. It's been a crazy year, man, between just all the injuries and COVID stuff. It's been a good year, great year, but I'm definitely glad it's week 18. We got a fun slate here, man. I love week 18s. Couple of notes off the top here. We are still running our early bird sale. It actually ends on the Super Bowl. We are 30% off from now until the Super Bowl. That'll make you good on fantasypoints.com all throughout the 2022 offseason. So you'll get all of our best ball stuff. You'll get all of our offseason rankings, everything we do through there, all of Wes's stuff, all of his dynasty rankings and articles that he's going to put up. So make sure you get in. Again, 30% off 2022 offseason, regular season, and playoffs. You can look at our mugs all year. Yeah, guys, week 18. Scott, we made it, man. This is what we've been waiting for weeks. Week 18. Couple other notes. We are going to be back for 2 more shows for the playoffs. We're going to do a show, I think same time, guys, right? Friday, same time for the divisional and wild card rounds. We'll be back for those, and then obviously the rest of the playoffs is like showdown stuff. So we'll be back for those two rounds the next 2 weeks, and I think we're going to be free on YouTube for those as well. But guys, round of applause. We made it, week 18. How are we feeling?
Yeah, so week 18, typically week 17, but longest season ever this year. It feels like it. Johnny and I always loved the week 17s. It's kind of like a nice little blend of preseason DFS mixed with the regular season. Typically one of our most profitable weeks historically, except for that 1 year, Johnny, where you and I went all in on one Giant player, the most money I've ever had him play on one guy, and then he got ruled out. And Art Stapleton was like, I knew all week he got ruled out, but was tweeting like he was playing. Who was that player, Johnny?
There were 2 players that fucked us. The first one was Roger Lewis on the Giants.
Oh my God.
Who was the best wide receiver play on the slate. The Giants only had 3 wide receivers. They ended up playing with only 2, and Roger Lewis had gotten surgery that morning, and no one reported it. Art Stapleton thought it was hilarious, just total asshole move. And then the other player that got hurt was the Chiefs. Only had 1 available running back. I can't remember his name, and
Charkandrick West?
No. It was like a nobody. He got hurt. He had like a 20-yard run, went down at the 3-yard line, left the game, and then the Chiefs fullback ended up being like RB7 on the week because he had the entire game at running back. Yeah, so that's week 17 in a nutshell.
Yeah, man.
I remember being at that game with like thousands of dollars in play on Roger Lewis, tilting my face off, texting you the entire time.
Scott, was Roger Lewis on that boat, that infamous Giants receiver picture, wasn't he?
He might have been. That's a good question. I also love that we got Peppa in the background. John used to his dog.
She's like making her mind right now.
He was. I just pulled it up. He was on that boat. Yeah.
That's his claim to fame.
That's great. Oh, man. You guys ready? Get through this?
Yeah.
Let's do it. First and foremost, this, you guys know, it's a sketchy slate to say the least. There's 2 games between teams that both have playoff aspirations, and one of them is here, Steelers, Ravens. Both these teams are less than 5% to make the playoffs. Ravens need 3 losses from the Chargers, Colts, and one other team to get in. Steelers need the Colts to lose to get in, so it's them. But Ravens are 4-point favorites. This has moved down from 6. Over-under is 42. Tyler Huntley is going to start. No surprise, Lamar Jackson is not going to play. I saw Hollywood Brown popped up on the injury report with an ankle injury on Thursday. He's fine. He's just got removed from the injury list just now. And Steelers side, looks like our boy Deontay is going to miss. He's on the COVID list. I think he can test out because he was on Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday. He got COVID. But yeah, I think our boy Deontay is out, and Joe Hayden is on the COVID list here. Scott, I'll kick it to you first, man. Thoughts, feels on this game. It's one of the few, like I said, that we feel pretty good about playing time.
So I kind of like that Tyler Huntley is going to be starting. Mark Andrews' numbers with him under center are obscene, and I wrote it up this way. I went nearly all in for tournaments just because I wasn't hearing anyone else make this argument, and that was that he just had massive bury you upside that wasn't being priced in. With the last 4 weeks with Tyler Huntley under center, 31.5 fantasy points, 38.6, 29.5, and last week 14.9. So, and really the entire slate came down to Jamar Chase. But if he just performed like he had over any of the prior 3 weeks, that's just a massive edge to you. And he still wasn't very highly owned, and he was productive enough. He finished 11 yards shy of the DK bonus. Lamar Jackson, since week 4, far and away PFF's worst graded passer by a landslide. So Huntley being confirmed the starter, I think is good news for Mark Andrews. He's certainly not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on Andrews too. And I think, Johnny, you mentioned this last week that, he was just so expensive on DK. It ended up being 3%. I think he's going to be around the same this week.
Yeah, this is a week where we are going to get some 2,500 tight ends probably. Teams with elite tight ends that are not doing any, not participating. I assume Kyle Pitts is going to play just because they want to get him the records, but we want to look at those kinds of spots. So we're going to get some cheap tight ends that people are going to play because of guys resting. And so 7,500 Mark Andrews, definitely not going to get ownership. I think even probably Zach Ertz will be, upwards of 20%.
Yeah, Ertz and Komet are the top 2 popping in ownership models. But like you said, we're going to get some cheap guys too. But I think Ertz will end up being chalk on DK because he's just been so consistent. Massive target share too. But yeah, man, Scott, I'm with you. I kind of like this game. I think I think Huntley's been pretty damn good, honestly. They've scored a field goal or a touchdown on 42% of their possessions with him under center. That'd be top 10 if you just kind of parse it out over the full season. The big question, obviously, is, the Steelers are going to chuck it here. That's what they do. They're second in pass rate over the last 8 weeks, but, Big Ben is just dust. Claypool, it's going to be Claypool and Ray McLeod is the top 2. I figure James Washington will play, full-time role on the outside as well, with Deontay out. How do you guys, kind of see the Claypool and Steelers receiver rotation working here?
Yeah, I really like Chase Claypool. I think he's arguably one of the best overall values of the slate. You can make an argument for Najee too, and even Ray McLeod, who's seen 8, 8, and 10 targets over the last 4 weeks, but has done absolutely nothing with it, including 0 fantasy points in a perfect matchup against the Titans, who suck against slot wide receivers. He's not really high on my radar, but again, I do love Chase Claypool, who saw 15 targets in week 3 when Deontay Johnson last sat out in this week 13 matchup against the Ravens. Deontay Johnson went nuclear, and it's really just the ultimate matchup. Doesn't get any better than this. Baltimore's perimeter quarterbacks are by far the worst in the league. Marlon Humphrey's out. They lost a key starter in training camp, and Anthony Averett is expected to miss this week. So they're really starting practice squad caliber cornerbacks on the perimeter, and we've seen a number of nuclear games over the last 3 weeks. Like you said, Deontay Johnson.
Actually, not to stop you mid-rant.
Oh, God.
Activated. I just put it in Slack.
Oh!
Yeah, so Deontay's back, baby.
How?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess he's vaxxed, man, because he got it Wednesday, so he needs one negative test and he can get out.
That's so confusing.
I mean, they moved the goalpost last minute. I mean, I'm still. Yeah, there's nothing we can do.
This has been the most frustrating season from a content developer standpoint, where I just wrote like all these words on Najee and Claypool based on Deontay being out, and
now you can just crumble them up and throw them in the trash because Deontay's back. But
yeah, I mean, well, then Deontay is a great play because it's the same matchup he smashed in a few weeks ago, and actually it's an even better one because Marlon Humphrey played in that game. The Steelers have showed that this is more the Big Ben farewell tour than it is them having a realistic chance at making the playoffs. So I could see Ben, throwing 50 times again with little success, but Deontay's going to rack up those PPRs, especially in the soft matchup.
Yeah, man.
I will say I have some concerns about the Steelers not showing up. I mean, they treated last week like their final game. It doesn't seem like the Steelers are considering that they have like a realistic playoff chance. I'm not sure Big Ben even would want to play in the playoffs, like if they made it. So there's some concern in the back of my mind that this could be a game where, the Steelers just don't really care.
Yeah.
And then in the slower games with Huntley, where the Ravens want to run the ball, with the like the Rams game last week, after Stafford throws the pick six, they really kind of turtled a little bit, similar to how we saw in that Bears game. So that's my concern. I kind of want to get sentiment because this game has the potential to have a ton of plays running it, but it also has the potential to be sort of just a dud. So if there's not going to be a whole lot of ownership, I'm gonna play some of the stacks in this game. But if this is gonna be a popular game, I may avoid it just because it has some dud potential.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been saying all year. I mean, Big Ben he's had no upside, and I mean that doesn't really change. Even though, like Scott's been saying, the matchup is amazing. It's still Big Ben. It's still a 5-yard ADOT, and especially with Deontay back, he's just gonna pepper him. Pepper in those super shallow areas. So yeah, I mean, I think there's scoring potential here for sure, but I mean, just like with nearly every game on the slate, there's downside too. That's kind of all I got here. I mean, Ravens side is pretty simple. Can't play their backs. Hollywood's been dead for a while. Andrews, and then now Steelers, we got Deontay. So, I'm with you, Johnny. If this game ends up being low owned, I think it's solid. All right, let's move on. Bengals Browns here. Browns are 6-point favorites. Over under 38. Bengals are wisely resting their guys. They can't do anything. I mean, they have like an outside chance to make the number 1 seed in the AFC, but the Chiefs would have to lose. Titans would have to lose. I mean, they're not going to play their guys. So Burrow's out. Mixon has COVID. He's out. I saw a quote from Zach Taylor this morning saying Chase could play. He just needs 45 yards to break the single-season record for a rookie. He also needs 12 yards to break the team record set by Ocho Cinco back in the day. So I think we'll see Chase try to get some records maybe in the first quarter, and then they'll rest him and then rest the rest of their guys. Brown side are far more interesting. Keenum's going to start. Mayfield is on IR. He's getting surgery, and he's also, laboring with a bruised ego at this point. Chubb.
Chad Johnson had 329 yards as a rookie.
No, I meant this team record. The team record.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah, so he's like 11 or 12. I think 12 yards away from that. Yeah, Ocho Cinco has both of the team records. But anyway, Chubb's the interesting one because I thought they might rest him here. He picked up a ribs injury on Monday night. He actually got removed from the injury report, and we know Kareem Hunt's been beat up here. Proctor, want to get your thoughts, man, because you always have like a really good kind of read on this kind of stuff. What do you think the Browns do here with Chubb?
So I think this is one of those where we could see Chubb get like 3 carries and leave the game.
Yeah. Same
kind of thing with Hunt, which makes it tough. Like Dearness Johnson would be a great play if we knew they weren't going to do it. So the game I was talking about.
Dearness Johnson's on the COVID list.
But didn't he go on the list early?
I hate this. I don't know.
I forget what day he went on.
Yeah, he went on the list on looks like the 4th, so he went on Tuesday.
I think it's going to be the Artavis Pierce Dexter Williams show. I think this is going to be an absolute mess.
Scott, were you a Dexter Williams guy? Or was that Wes?
Oh.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. Either way, so this is the scenario though that I was talking about with the Chiefs.
Wait, Dexter Williams has COVID too, Scott. Sorry. He's on the COVID list.
Artavis Pierce, he's not even listed on DraftKings because he was on or whatever. But yeah,
you should get a write-in ballot on DK this week for Artavis, man.
So the Chiefs game in 2017, it was Mahomes' first game. Mahomes was really popular in DFS. He didn't do anything. The best play on the slate was Akeem Hunt because they said Kareem Hunt was only going to be active to, I don't know if there's an incentive or something, or he just wanted to start the game. Kareem Hunt had 1 carry, and then Akeem Hunt was set to play the rest of the game and got hurt. So these are the spots where if we can find the right news to say the Browns are only going to use 1 guy, then they're in play. These running backs that are going to get 3.5 quarters of all of the work at $4K, $10 on Yahoo, $4,500 on FanDuel, people don't play them, and they are smashes. So you have to pay attention to that. I think this is one of those that we could get because I think the Browns need to show up a little bit. I think Stefanski is a good head coach. I think this team has just been a bit of a disaster. I think them ending, if they lose to the Bengals backups at the end of this season, their fans are going to burn the stadium down. So they need to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Stefanski's definitely safe, but I'm definitely with, he's got to get his guys up for this game because their second half of the season has just been so brutal. Yeah, man, I was thinking about that too, Scott. If we got word that Chubb and Hunter out, Dearness is the nuts, but he's been on COVID all week, and it's Friday now. He's not cleared. He hasn't practiced. So
is Demetric Felton healthy?
That is a good question.
Because he'd be pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, he just has I don't know how much rushing equity does he have? Because he'd be fun for the PPRs, but
we need him to be the only guy left.
Yeah,
is what we need.
He's got 6 carries.
Yeah.
Maybe the narrative is just that the Browns cook via the pass because there's been reports that Stefanski and Baker have been butting heads and they might look to shop him. I don't know, but I did just want to say I agree with Johnny's take that when you can get one of these backup running backs thrust into a bell cow workload, it really pays dividends. I looked back at the top running back performances in week 17, 2016 to 2020. And in the top 15 are so many names Charkandrick West, Sean Drawn, Zach Zenner, Orleans Darkwa, dropping 20 plus. So I'm not
been Akeem Hunt.
Still tilted about this 5 years later.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm not seeing too many of those values this week, but who knows what might open up.
We'll get them.
I think this will be the team we get them on. I was shocked. Like I said, I was shocked they removed Chubb because they just took him out of that game when he got dinged up last week, and they just didn't give a shit. So I'll be surprised if Chubb plays his full normal workload here.
Today and tomorrow is when we will get stuff trickling in about players not playing or they're going to take it easy on this guy. And that's where you can get big edges because if they're not officially inactive, people don't play the backups. So that's where you can get some big value.
Yeah, for sure. Bengals. Any interest in these guys? They're going to be playing Samaji.
Are they? That's my concern.
Yeah.
Samaji Perine is the number 2. And he plays, he plays 30% of their snaps or whatever. He's sort of their hurry up, pass back. He has an actual role. So I think P. Ryan could be a pretty big trap. If he's going to be really highly owned, I'd probably just be out because I think we could just see a ton of Chris Evans.
Yeah.
If P. Ryan's out, Chris Evans would be the stone cold nuts. He just does so much in the passing game. He's good, talent-wise. So I'd be really interested in him if we get any word that P. Ryan might be limited.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Allen dump it down a million times too, because I mean they're not going to have any receivers. They're not going to have any of the guys. It'll be Mike Thomas and Stanley Morgan out there. I think Auden Tate got off the COVID list today too, or yesterday.
I will say Chris Evans was like a really popular preseason guy though. So if P. Ryan gets ruled out, Evans will get owned.
Okay. Let's see here. Wide receivers. All right. Let's. I think that'll do it for this game. Let's keep it moving here. All right, Titans, Texans. Titans, obviously, they're playing for everything here. Even if the Chiefs win tomorrow and Saturday night against the Broncos, Titans, all they have to do is beat the Texans, and they're the number 1 seed. So they got everything to play for. 10-point favorites. That line has barely moved all week. Over-under's 43, and really the only injury note I have in this game, guys, is Chris Conley didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. He was their number 2 last week. He actually played significantly more routes, ran significantly more routes than Nico Collins last week. So maybe a slight boost to Cooks. But, man, I mean, Texans were ahead in that game last week against the Niners. Like, it was an ugly game, but the bottom still fell out for them. Niners, late surge with the big Debo play, and Lance made some chunk plays. I think the Texans could – I don't know. I've gone back and forth. Like, the Texans have gotten up for some of these games, like, and competed way better than I thought they would, especially in that Chargers game as of late. But I don't know, man. I've had a hard time kind of figuring out if they're going to try and show up here. But regardless, I think this is a really good spot for Deontay Foreman. Foreman got 78% of the running back carries last week. They're not going to play Henry. Titans have been the same exact team, extremely run heavy without Henry here. So, Scott, is Foreman the play here?
Yeah, I wrote him up. I like him a lot. Also, I don't give out betting takes too much, but I did tweet out that I liked Tennessee at their odds plus 1625 to win the Super Bowl. There's just an edge. There's always been an edge. Vegas underrating these teams that are very likely to get a bye, and but like aren't great on paper. They just need to beat the Texans to lock up the bye. Vegas implies just a 5.8% chance they win the Super Bowl, but it's a massive advantage to have that bye. You only have to beat, however many other teams. Was it two more teams?
Yeah, it's 2 now.
Yeah, so I like Deontay Foreman. He's basically like early season Elijah Mitchell. Maybe not as much of a workhorse, hitting a quarter of the carries, and a lot of the pass catching work. But it's the perfect matchup. Texans rank worst in yards per carry allowed, second worst in rushing fantasy points per game allowed. They rank worst over the last 5 weeks. And then I like Brandon Cooks a lot on the other side, but I just lost track of my notes, so I get to dig that back up.
I think the Texans show up. So this is one of those where Davis Mills is sort of playing audition still for next year. He's played really well. So I think he wants to keep that train going. Coaching staff, I think they are set to stay. And they're a team that has showed up when everyone thinks they're dead. So I think they'll show up here. I don't think they'll, push the Titans hard or anything, but I do think the line gives a little too much credence to like them being a dead team when I think they're one of the teams that are still going to show up. Like they haven't had playoff hopes for 11 weeks. So
right. Yeah,
this is just another game for them. So I do like Cooks, Brevin Jordan, Nico Collins a little bit, and then the mini stacks with Foreman and one of the Texans pass catchers is I think nice because this is one of the few games where I think both teams are invested in playing.
Yeah. I think the Texans, that was kind of my first lean, but then it's been so hard to kind of figure out what the Texans are going to do and how they're going to play. But that was my first lean this week, Proctor, is that like they do show up. They know they're spoilers. If they beat the Titans, it's kind of knocks one of their foes down a little bit. So that was my first lean too. My biggest concern, I guess, in this game is the pace. I mean, both these teams are really, really slow. We know how the Titans want to play, especially when they have a lead. They're the second slowest team in the league when they have a lead. That is a mouthful. But yeah, man, I can't really get too excited about this game beyond Foreman and Cooks. Are we still on Brevin Jordan? His routes got cut last week. I think he was at like 50% route share.
Yeah, and I think he was limited during the week, right? So I think
I don't remember, honestly.
I think we may have sort of misread health a little bit.
Let me see here.
So that I think he was limited last week. I think he's been fine this week.
Yeah, just 20 routes on 41 pass plays last week, and he was.
I mean, that was nearly a season high.
Really? 50% route share? Damn, I thought he was in like the 60s a couple weeks ago.
He was always like 50% snaps.
56% route share.
Okay, yeah, he's off the injury report this week, but I don't remember seeing him on the injury report last week. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think AJ Brown probably will be over-owned here, as he sort of just always is in games that aren't. If it doesn't go back and forth.
Yeah.
Even if you have a 35% target share, when you throw it 22 times, it doesn't really get you anywhere. So Brown was a guy that I had come into the week like, okay, after he busted, I think, I can get back on him a little bit. And, you look at the projections, he's going to be, 10 to 20% owned because, there's not a whole lot of wide receivers to pay up for. So he's a guy I'll probably be out on.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, if the Titans do build a 10-point lead like the spread suggests, I'm kind of with you. I think this should be closer to like Titans by 8, maybe by 7. But, if they do build a lead, man, they're going to throw it just 18, 20, 22 times here. I mean, it's tough to get there with that type of volume for AJ Brown. All right. I think we're good on this game. We can pursue this next one. Washington and the Giants. The team are getting 7 points here. Over-under's 38. The Giants have been dead for weeks. I'll breeze through this. Jake Fromm's going to start. Kadarius Toney is out again. I think they're going to get Darius Slayton back off the COVID list he missed last week with the Rona. Washington side is more interesting. Antonio Gibson was cleared to play and taken off the injury report, and he only needs like 109 yards to get a 1K. He also needs one more touchdown from double digits. I don't know if that's like, he gets any like contract bonuses at all from that. I don't think he does, but just statistical milestones that he might be chasing. And this is the team, man. I mean, they don't do anything wise with their injured players. So I don't know. I want to get your guys' thoughts on Gibson. The only other note I have is RSJ is out, so we're going to get John Bates at tight end. But let's talk through Gibson. Scott, what are your thoughts? Do you think they play him? Do we see more Jarrett Patterson? Because Patterson was pretty strong last week, kind of surprisingly.
Yeah, I really don't have a take. I was hoping one of you guys had a good one.
Yeah. Johnny?
I like Gibson a good bit.
Okay.
I think Heineke's going to be motivated because this could be like his last game to start ever. There's a chance of that. Let's call it a high likelihood. But yeah, so I think this will be like an emotional game for him. Ron Rivera definitely like a show up and win type coach. Divisional game, I think stomping on the Giants to end the season. Good for the fan base who's already just pissed at about everything. So I do like Gibson. I think they'll play him. I think the 1,000 yards, I think they're probably looking at that. The double-digit touchdowns, I don't think they're looking at that.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to find out if there's any – like this is one where I want to listen to some Rivera pressers from Thursday today and see like if he mentions anything about Gibson being sore or tired or worn down or anything like that, then I'll be out.
Yeah, I was going through some pressers last night, just working through the game hubs and prepping and stuff, and he didn't really mention anything about Gibson. I got some good shit on Zimmer in this next game or a couple of games from now, but yeah. that's my thing. I'm waiting on that too, Johnny. Because if we get some sort of news either from Rivera or Gibson's going to play a bunch, like I want to go all in because
and Washington defense paired with Gibson is just such a smash, such a smash if he's a full-time player.
Yeah, we just don't know.
And
I
think he is.
Yeah.
But I don't have any confirmation on that yet.
All right. Yeah, that gives me a little bit of more confidence here. That's really it, man. I mean, we want to play McLaurin here. He came back to life a little, but
No. I don't think the Giants are like one of those teams with like dead teams walking. Like they are a dead team walking. I mean, they literally ran the ball more times.
They gave up last week.
They had more rushing attempts than passing yards. I've never seen that in my entire life.
Yeah, Judge knows he's toast. So at least I hope. So it still sounds like there's a chance they're thinking about bringing him back, but man, what a disaster. All right, let's move it on. Bears Vikings. Vikings are 6-point favorites, and they're getting freaking hammered, man. They were 2.5 to 3.5 point favorites on Tuesday, and I think they're full go. I think we're going to see Cousins. Zimmer was emphatic a couple nights ago, or maybe Wednesday on his Wednesday press or whenever, saying that Cousins is going to play. He has no interest in seeing Kellen Mond. You got to keep in mind Cousins is owed $45 million and like quietly had easily his best year as a quarterback. It's just the team kind of fell apart around him. So I think both him and I think Zimmer and Cousins are both going to be really motivated here. And now they're going to catch this Bears team that's going to be without Justin Fields. I was really excited about this game because it's like the fourth best game this week in terms of like pace and play. But now we don't have Fields. So we're going to get Dalton starting. But yeah, man, I think Vikings are the most interesting to kind of talk through here.
Yeah, I think Zimmer's also kind of like mad at Cousins. So I think it's like you fucked this up, so you're playing this week.
Yeah, Zimmer's definitely that type of guy. I got that vibe too. He was fucking pissed in that.
Yeah, and the main like Zimmer was mad in the off season when this stuff was going on with Cousins.
Yeah.
And so I think he's also I think Zimmer's borderline like on the hot seat. Like I don't know. I think if they don't show up against the Bears here, I think it probably hurts his case. So I think he definitely wants to win. The only concern I would have is like they go up 21-7 and then Cousins doesn't play the fourth quarter or something.
Yeah, I think Zimmer's definitely on the hot seat, dude. But that just gives him more fire to get everything back and under order here. They're also going to get some defensive guys back. I think Hendricks will be back. I think Dantzler was removed from COVID, so they're going to get a little bit better on defense too. Scott, what's your read on the Vikings here and read on the Bears? Because I mean, Bears have been really skinny for a couple weeks here.
Yeah, so I think you guys brought up some great points with Minnesota's side. I think Justin Jefferson is one of the better plays of the slate, even though there is some uncertainty over the quarterback situation. Also, Jalen Johnson and the matchup isn't great, but he's just been such an absolute monster in recent weeks. I really like Darnell Mooney. His numbers since week 8 are, fringe wide receiver 1. And then if you only look at games with Andy Dalton under center, that jumps even higher. Do you think Patrick Peterson's going to shadow? I think that's a legitimate question. If so, I think it does a little bit.
I mean,
my bigger concern with I think the Bears are a dead team walking.
Nagy's done.
Yeah, but it's Nagy's last game. He's going to want to go all out.
Like these coaches who know they're getting fired or like, I always have big concerns about their players.
And especially given the kind of like dichotomy here going on, like they're going to bring Ryan Pace back. So I can't imagine that Nagy's been super inspiring this week. But yeah, Scott, I like Mooney too, man. He's averaging 5.6 receptions, 69.9 yards in games where Fields does not start. And with Fields, he's at 3.6 receptions, 48.9 yards. More targets, better efficiency. I like Mooney too, but to Johnny's point, there's definitely some risk. You have the Bears just getting completely shredded here. By the way, if you can find a 5 on the Vikings out there, I don't even know if it's still out there. I grabbed him at 4 on Thursday. If you can get on that, I strongly suggest, because this is getting hammered. It might get up to 7 or 8 by the end of the week here.
I will. I mean, Mooney does have 71 yards to get to 1,000. So
I have that note somewhere. Let me see.
That's something that's like in play. I think
71.
Mooney, like if I was playing Cousins stacks, I think Mooney is probably the only Bear that I would really be interested in. Coming into the week, I was like thinking I might want Montgomery, but I worry about maybe Herbert getting a little more play. Like Montgomery's not close to any accolades. He's only got 777 rushing yards. So
yeah, he's also been like really slowing down here, man. Under 3.5 yards per carry in 3 straight, under 3 yards per carry in his last 2.
Right.
He's been slowing down here.
Yeah, and that he comes off of injury, has a couple good games, and then sort of wears down. So I wouldn't be shocked if he gets some rest this game. Yeah. So definitely Mooney would be the only one that I'd be interested in. But I do think this is a game where it's possible that the Bears could show up, but I'm more convinced that the Vikings show up.
Why don't you think the Bears show up? What has changed from last week to the week before?
So the coaches who are like for sure being fired are often like 1 foot out the door in the last week.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they show up. I think nothing's changed. I think, last ever game as a head coach in the NFL for Nagy. I looked up the Patrick Peterson numbers, by the way. At a certain point, maybe like 4 weeks ago, he was like top 20 percentile in yards allowed per snap in coverage. Now he's like average. He's comparatively significantly better than the other cornerbacks, but still not worth downgrading Mooney in this matchup. Montgomery, I think he's an awesome play. He's easily seen the best volume of any running back in fantasy over his last 5 games. Really good target volume and negative game script games, which this is, and it's a great matchup on paper. He's still egregiously mispriced on DraftKings, so I like him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the volume's definitely been good for Montgomery, but man, between his efficiency falling off here,
maybe the offenses show up and maybe the defenses don't, and this is just a good old fashioned slop fest where it's 2 bad teams just going nuclear. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would also be awesome if the Bears don't have Akeem Hicks here.
He's out.
Oh, he's already out?
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, there you go. It's even better for the Vikings. Because that was kind of my lean, is like this game's 1 of 3. I noted that like have 50-point upside. But like we've been talking the whole time, the concern is obviously the Bears.
Yeah. I think a line movement sort of tells you that the Bears are a good team.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Hicks has just got ruled out, so there you go. Damn. Sweet. All right. Let's keep it moving here. Packers, Lions. Look, Matt LaFleur can say whatever he wants. Packers are not going to play their starters. The markets have been telling us this too. I mean, the look-ahead line on Friday last week, I think I pulled it up as like 11 or 12, 13. It's stayed Packers -3 all week. Over-under's 45. Lions side, they're going to get Goff. They're going to play him this week. They're going to get Josh Reynolds back from COVID as well. But the scary bit for them is they're going to be down Taylor Decker and Penny Sewell. Both have COVID. Both are on the list as of this morning. So they could still get cleared tomorrow, but it's not looking good. They're both symptomatic, I believe, as well. So their seasons are probably over. Man, Packers are going to be playing all their backups here, Proctor. How are you kind of going through this?
I think Rodgers gets a quarter.
Yeah.
Because I will say the line had like reopened at -2 and it's moved through 3.5. So I do think we at least see Rodgers like start and then leave, because he's still fighting Brady for MVP. Like if Brady shows up and smashes this week, he can take MVP back from Rodgers. So I think Rodgers comes in, maybe 2 drives, scores a touchdown, leaves, just to sort of cement his MVP case. And we know that Rodgers loves himself more than he loves the Packers. So that's something to just keep in mind. So I probably, unless Rodgers is like officially ruled out, I probably won't have any interest in Jordan Love. I do think we should monitor what's going on with the running backs. I mean, if they say that, you know, Dillon and Jones are only going to play with Rodgers, then we're going to have a smash play, against the Lions. So that's something to monitor. No word yet. I think we'll get some leaks about what's going on there, but I think the Lions are going to show up. So this is another one of those games that has some upside. The Lions defense sucks. The Packers defense has fallen apart over the last few weeks. I think we can see points scored. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is like one of the better wide receiver plays on the slate, projecting for almost no ownership. I hopefully that stays where it is. This is a rookie wide receiver who wants to end his season on a positive note. He's been playing really well. Dan Campbell is not the head coach that I think is going to, lay down for this game. So
yeah,
I'm pretty interested in Amon-Ra. I think he's one of the better plays this week.
Yeah, Campbell is going to play his guys. He's definitely going to play his guys here.
He didn't with DeAndre Swift last week.
But he did though.
Had like 4 touches.
Yeah, well, he played. I made a note of it. He played 28. Yeah, he ran 28 routes on their 41 pass plays. So, I mean, he was out there. It was Tim Boyle and Lions getting freaking crushed. But yeah, I like Amon-Ra quite a bit. I think we got to.
I don't know that Rodgers doesn't play the whole game. I think there's enough of a chance that he is a pretty good, like milli maker QB stack. Because like you said, there's the MVP narrative. I think it's close. And I think the vaccination and off-season stuff hurts him in the voting. It's clear, at least a few voters are just ruling him out because of that. Further, I mean, the Packers have been in this exact same scenario under Matt LaFleur twice, 13-3 with a bye locked up. And Rodgers played the full game in both games. He smashed. He attempted 55 passes 2 seasons ago. He averages 24.5 fantasy points per game. The only thing that's changed is the toe injury. So I don't know.
Fuck the toe injury.
Dude, he's been fine with that for a while.
Yeah. So then why not play the whole game? We have a two season sample where that's what he's done. He's played the whole game, even though he didn't need to.
You might be right.
No, it's definitely a fair point. It's definitely
no one's going to play him. People are assuming Jordan Love.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a fair point. I mean, it's concerning to me that the line hasn't moved hardly at all. I mean, it went from 2.5 to 3.5
then move
down
it.
to 3.
Bet the Packers, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, this game would be Packers by 14-15 if, there's some confidence there, but
the best Billy Maker play of the slate, super large field tournament.
I mean, the MVP narrative is fully in play. I mean, it has been in play for a month.
Scott, did Adams play that whole game too? Because I'm trying to pull it up here. Let's see. If they did.
Banged up.
No, he played 89% of the snaps. It was the Bears game. Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns last year.
It was also the MVP narrative, remember? Like, that's why he showed up and dunked on the Bears.
True. Yeah.
And we're kind of in the same spot.
Yep.
Dude, he let's see, Lions game.
Although who was it?
The radio show.
Rodgers is planning on sitting out the Super Bowl in protest if they make it that far.
What?
Yeah, so maybe they want to get Jordan Love some extra play. This was reported by Boomer Esiason yesterday. You've seen that, right, Johnny?
I saw it.
Damn. Yeah, Rodgers, Scott, your point, 55 attempts in that game in the end of the 2019 season.
Yeah.
Adams got 13 targets. Damn. Yeah, if Rodgers is chasing the MVP, man, which we know he is, he's going to play this full game then. It's just so stupid. It's just so stupid, though. It's just so the whole thing is just so stupid. Like, why even risk it?
They're going to do whatever Rodgers wants to do because they want him back next year. So whatever he wants to do.
That's a good point. He holds all the leverage. He really
holds
does.
everything.
Yeah, as an elite quarterback should.
He knows it too. He plays that up. Like, he was talking about his relationship with the GM a couple weeks ago, and was saying how it's so much better now, and I've gotten into the conversations that I wanted to, and all that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a good point, Scott. You've definitely changed my mind here. I think we'll see more Rodgers than I thought.
Yeah, the
thing is though, sorry, real quick. If they get up 21-0 at half or 21-3, like, Rodgers isn't coming back out in that second half. Like, he'll already have cemented what he wants to cement. So there still is that risk where he only plays like 2 or 3 quarters. But yeah,
right.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why you want Lions on the other side.
Yeah. Amon-Ra is the nuts.
He's such a good play.
Yeah, he's the nuts.
The rookies who are sort of having better years than expected are some of my favorite plays in week 17, 18.
The dude has 11 targets or more in 5 straight games.
Yep.
They've got nothing else. If Rodgers plays, then they're going to be massive dogs throughout the game. So, yeah. Interesting. All right. Let's move on here to a game that's really clear-cut. Colts and the Jags. Colts are 16-point favorites. Over-under's 44. I got no injury notes. Jags are completely dead. Who cares what they do? And, really, Colts side is super simple. We know what they're going to do. And they win, they're in. They're going to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor like 28 times, and he's probably going to go nuts. That's really all this game comes down to here.
Yep.
Simple as that.
You can make the argument for Treadwell, but other than that, I think it's Taylor and Colts defense.
Why not Dan Arnold?
Dan Arnold. He did get he's like their only guy left, isn't he?
Laquan Treadwell takes offense to that.
Oh, God.
The old 5th-year breakout after not being in the league for 2 years.
I think this is his 6th year, isn't it? Technically, his 6th.
I don't even know.
It doesn't matter.
The fantasy footballers were saying that he's the only player whose like ceiling and median projection are the exact same. It's probably where it is.
That's great.
His ceiling is his floor. It's great. No, Scott, I think Arnold's interesting for sure. Stoneman coming off the knee injury. He's off the COVID list. Shaughnessy's not going to play. They got some other guys too. Like they didn't have a tight end last week, basically. So I think Arnold's interesting.
Why isn't he the best tight end player this league?
Because he's a Jaguar.
It's the Jags, man. I will say Colts have been the best tight end matchup all year. Like just
right. But he did have 5 for 67 against them last time he played, and then he scored 0 in week 11 against San Francisco. But prior to that, he had a team high in receiving yards in like 4 of his last 5 games. So he was sort of Laquan Treadwell before Laquan Treadwell. Meaning like the wide receiver one. But yeah.
Yeah, no. Laquan Tread God.
Well, especially if no one's going to play him, I think the main reason I hated Arnold every week was because he was going to be like 35% owned to score, 8 fantasy points. So
yeah, no touchdown upside, 0 touchdown upside.
So if he's not going to be owned, then I think, if Cole Kmet is going to be, 20% and Dan Arnold's going to be 4, then Dan Arnold's probably 10 times as good of a play.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason I tuned into this show was to hear which 2,500 tight end Johnny was going to play.
We don't have him yet.
It's Arnold.
I guess
he's definitely in that mix, man. He's definitely not mixed. I mean, they activated him. They activated him yesterday, or 2 days ago now, actually. So I mean,
I guess we just have to make sure he's going to play.
He's going to play.
All right.
Yeah, he's going to play. I mean, I thought they might bring him back a couple weeks ago. So I mean, his knee's probably fine. Then he landed on the COVID list last week. I think they might have brought him back last week if he didn't get COVID, because the Jags had like 27 dudes or something get COVID last week. But yeah, no, I think Arnold's in play for sure.
All right.
That's all it is, man. JT, Arnold, and I can't click Treadwell, but if you want to go there, that's fine.
Pittman's a strong contrarian play, just super negatively correlated with Jonathan Taylor, but likely to get shadowed by Shaq Griffin, who has been excellent in shadow games. So he's going to pop as like a value, but I don't view him that way. I just view him as like a upside contrarian guy.
I hope he busts again because I can't wait to play Pittman in playoff slates.
Yeah. Yeah, man. When Wentz has to actually do something, that's when you play Pittman. But I mean, they're gonna just kill the Jags here.
Exactly.
You know, Wentz is gonna throw it maybe 25 times, maybe. You know, so it's kind of like the Ryan Tannehill thing, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the with Jonathan Taylor, you know, yes, he could get limited like in the second half or something, but I think, you know, chasing yardage totals, touchdown totals, you know, etc. I think he plays a good bet.
Well, if you want to play that narrative, man, he is 266 yards away from 2K and two touchdowns away from 20 touchdowns. He had 32, 53 and 2 against the Jags in Week 17 last year. Obviously, totally different spot. Colts were dead, but yeah, that was interesting.
It's one of those, like, if he has like an 80-yard touchdown run and now 2K's in play, maybe they go for it. But I wouldn't be concerned that he rests much this game because they definitely need to win. For sure.
All right. Afternoon slate. Jets and the Bills. Bills are the biggest favorites by far on the board. 17-point spread at home. Over-under is 41.5. Excuse me. Jets are not going to be with Elijah Moore or Braxton Berrios here. Johnny, your boy, Braxton Berrios, the god, is going to be out here. They're going to get Crowder back. Saleh said he's looking good to play. Bills side, Manny Sanders didn't practice on Friday. Yeah, that's all I really got. Jets are going to get completely rolled here, I think. I mean, Bills are just going to come out and chuck for 3 quarters and then probably rest Allen. But in those 3 quarters, it's probably going to be nuclear. Allen had 366 on 28 pass attempts back in Week 10 against them, and they just got shredded by Brady, obviously in a comeback attempt. But, you know, Bills, you know, they're going to throw here. That's all I got, man. It's just how highly owned do we think Allen's going to get?
Highest of any quarterback.
Yeah. Yep. Well, then your Rodgers take, if Rodgers plays 3 quarters and Allen plays 3 quarters, like Rodgers has about an even chance of outscoring him, and he'll be 1%. It's interesting.
Is Singletary going to be chalk too?
Yes.
Yeah.
It should be.
Rolls
well,
solid.
There's no real leverage there, but yeah, I mean they're both great plays. Johnny, is Crowder a better or worse play than Braxton Berrios last week?
Worse.
And is it because Berrios is a god, or
well,
is it some other reason?
High school superstar Braxton Berrios.
Yeah, we were all over that, man.
Yeah, we were. I poo-pooed it, and Johnny was right, as always.
He outscored Cooper Kupp, bro.
It was yeah, well, that's because he's such an athlete. They let him be the starting running back and wide receiver at the goal line. So
well, that's because Michael Carter had a concussion, which you nailed. You were like, I'm like, bro, he has 84 yards on 6 touches, and you're like, yeah, he's gonna end the day with 84 yards and 6 touches, and then he had a concussion, never came back.
Yeah.
But I think he's a play. I think he's in play. His price is the RB41. Per 4 quarters, he's been a top 10 fantasy running back easy, seeing like high-end RB2 volume. No one's going to play him. matchups like better than people give it credit for, although they're expected to score like 8 points by Vegas. But if you throw that out,
if you ignore the 8-point team total,
if you throw that out, yeah.
It's supposed to be a weather game too, right?
Yeah. There's some weather games this week.
Ingram
was another one.
I mean,
I forget who was talking about it. It might have been Rebar that Josh Allen has been like pretty poor in weather games, which is weird considering they're in Buffalo. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think there's a chance that this could be.
It's like right on that. It's right on that. Go ahead, Scott.
Arguably, weather should just be an excuse for him to run more, and he is running more.
Yeah, he's running
the last 4 weeks: 109, 24, 64, 81 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns over that span.
Yeah, weather-wise, it's on that borderline. He's at I'm seeing 12 to 15 mile per hour wind, so it's on that borderline. If it gets up to like 20, then maybe. But right now it's borderline. But it's Friday afternoon, so we'll have to see.
I will say last year when they needed to win, they smashed the Dolphins, and Allen didn't play the fourth quarter.
But he still scored like 20 fantasy points, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't like the nuts on the slate. So there's a little bit of like, if he's going to be the highest owned quarterback, I think there's ways around him. But obviously he's still a great play because it's the Jets and they do need to win. So, they have to be up 35-40 like they were against the Dolphins for him to come out.
Yeah, by the way, that was that Isaiah McKenzie game where he scored 3 touchdowns back in week 17 last year.
Yeah, where everyone played Isaiah McKenzie. This was hilarious where everyone played Isaiah McKenzie because they thought like Diggs and everybody would be like rested or whatever. And then McKenzie still smashed even though he was like the wide receiver 4. Yeah.
I think he only got like a couple targets in that game. Actually, no, he got 9. So anyway. How do we want to play this with no Sanders? Diggs, we've been waiting on the boom game for Diggs all year. It's just not coming.
Gabe Davis, just a great play.
I loved Gabe Davis last week. It looked like he was going to completely smash and then did nothing. I think he caught all 3 of his passes in the first quarter and then didn't do anything for the rest of the game.
Wow. Allen was horrible. That was just
Yeah, I'm with you, Graham. Gabe Davis was super low owned, and I thought he was one of the best plays of the slate. Weeks 14 through 15, 7.5 targets, 20.4 fantasy points per game. Isaiah McKenzie in the Gabe Davis role the next week, 32.4 fantasy points. And it's, everything's lining up for like 28 fantasy points, but he did nothing. But I think you just go back to him. I think that was a sharp play that just didn't work out. And just a massive improvement over Emmanuel Sanders. He should just not play for the rest of the season.
I know, dude. I love the Bills, honestly. I'm like kind of a quasi-Bills fan because I like Josh Allen so much, but McDermott has just been so questionable at times, man. Like, how do you play Manny over Gabe Davis? Like, how do you, hold Davis back from growing as a player?
It's probably something stupid, like he's a really bad blocker, or he's showing up late to meetings or something.
Yeah, and that's my point. It's just so silly, but
yeah.
Anyway,
if I was a GM, I would just sign all of the assholes who are really good at football and not care about blocking and things like that.
Yeah.
One day.
Well, you would sign AB at 40.
Oh, absolutely.
AB's going to
be like locker room poison and just not care.
I stepped away for a second. Did you guys talk through Michael Carter? I want to bring him up. All right, cool. All right, let's move it. Saints and Falcons. Saints are 3.5-point favorites. There's kind of a little bit of action getting on the Falcons here. This was Saints 5 on Tuesday. It's now down to 3.5. Over-under's 40 to 41. Really, the big news is we're waiting on Kyle Pitts. He has a hamstring injury. They said he's a game-time call. We'll see. Other bit of news is Mark Ingram. I don't even know if it really matters if he even can suit up because he's just, unfortunately old and has a bad knee. But he was downgraded on Thursday, which will help out Kamara. Kamara played on 78% of the snaps last week, which is the highest rate of his season since week 7. So no Ingram or severely limited. Ingram is going to be good for Kamara regardless. Johnny, what's your thoughts on this game, man?
This is one that I kind of like. I hate that like one of the better games on the week is the Saints. They're just like so miserable. But the Falcons are a team that has been dead multiple times in the past 3 or 4 years. They have showed up. They seem to show up for these spoiler games. Last year, the game of the week was the Bucs-Falcons game. Went for like 65 points scored or 70 or something like that. So this is one where, I think the Falcons want to play against the Saints. It is in a dome. So Taysom Hill is a guy that I have some interest in, but I think he's getting more and more popular as people realize this is one of the better games of the week. Kyle Pitts was going to be such a good play with the accolades that he has coming if he's available. But if he's out, I think Hayden Hurst and Russell Gage are pretty good plays. And this is kind of a fun game that I don't want to get – I don't want to stack it too heavily because I don't think it can score 60, but I think it can be one of the better sort of back and forth kind of games.
Definitely one of the tighter games, but it's the worst game overall in my model in pace and plays. So, and that's largely with the Saints. The Saints playing so slow. Falcons offense. Falcons over the last 8 weeks are running fewer plays per game than the Seahawks. I mean, it's definitely going to be tight, especially with some sharp action coming on the Falcons. I think we can project for that, but I don't know. I definitely worry about the pace and the play of this game here. Scott, what do you think about Kamara?
I honestly don't have a Kamara take. I don't know. Someone else, Johnny, what do you think?
I like Kamara. I played a shit ton of Kamara last week.
Yeah.
Got kind of lucky, it felt like, but the role was good. They need to win.
Really good.
They need to win. Taysom is throwing him the ball. So I think you can stack Taysom and Kamara, and hope the Saints just show up and dunk on them. And that's something that people don't do because in the past, you couldn't stack Kamara with Taysom because he didn't throw it to him. So it ends up being an under-owned thing. It's tough. Like you said, I mean, the Saints are just so miserable on offense. But when Taysom shows up, though, he has huge boom games. So he's a guy I do want some exposure to, but I just worry that he may get kind of highly owned.
Yeah, if Taysom's going to be popular, I want Kamara, man. He's got 5, 6, and 6 targets, and Taysom's 3 starts with Kamara in there. We've been wanting to play, pass catching backs against the Falcons for a number of years. That nothing has changed. I mean, they're like bottom 10, bottom 12, and PPR points allowed through the passing game to backs. I think it's a good spot for Kamara, and I think he's going to end up being pretty. I wouldn't say he's not going to be like owned, but I think he's going to be way lower owned than Taylor, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to play Kamara unless we get some more value.
Okay. Well, then I think Kamara's an excellent GPP play if that's true, Johnny.
Yeah.
I think he's an excellent play again.
I think people are more interested in Dalvin and just because of like the way the lines are moving for the Vikings, but
yeah, I mean Dalvin is way too cheap on DK. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But
yeah, but Dalvin just like hasn't been good in outside of massive volume. So I think I would prefer playing Kamara at no ownership than Dalvin at high ownership.
All right.
Something I've looked at too, where I've really hit on a number of key guys, the implied total versus team points scored per game. The Saints are at 21.5. They've averaged 10 points per game in Kamara's last 3 games, and still been very productive. So he finally has some touchdown equity in this game. I wanted to say I think Callaway is a really strong stacking option.
Trayvon's back.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, but Callaway's been good, man. I wanted to bring up Callaway too because I thought he was interesting, Scott.
Yeah, 29% target share last 4 games, 95 yards in each of Taysom's last 2 starts, 9.5 targets, 16.5 fantasy points per game.
Yeah. 30% target share over the last 4 weeks, but granted that's without Traquan. They had Deontay Harris without Deontay Harris for 3 games too. He got back last week. He got suspended, but Yeah, that's my concern is Traquan and Deontay are back, but I think Callaway and Hill's kind of their connection is definitely a thing.
And that was something all the beat writers talked about. They were like,
oh, really?
Who is Winston's guy? Easily Callaway. Who is Taysom's guy? Definitely Callaway. Mm-hmm. And then, Callaway, after an awesome preseason, stuck for a really long time. But, I mean, maybe Taysom's revived him. That guy, people were falling over themselves to draft. And then
Braxton Berrios to IR. So
sad day. Pour one out.
There's a boost to your Jets wide receivers that you want to play, Scott.
So Belichick's going to give Berrios how many million to bring him back next year? 25, 30?
Twice as much as he gave Nelson Aguilar. Because he's twice as good. Russell Gage is one of the better values of the slate. Something I've looked into is he's had one of the toughest schedules of any player in fantasy. He runs about 50% of his routes from the slot, and 8 of his 13 games have come against defenses ranking top 12 against slot wide receivers. But in all other games, he averages 7.6 targets and 15.9 fantasy points per game. This is an easy, Saints rank bottom 12 in fantasy points per game allowed to opposing slot wide receivers. He's way too cheap, especially on FanDuel.
Yeah, I like Gage. Shout out to Sharon in our chat here on YouTube. She says she has a shirt that says punt tight end, and if Pitts doesn't play, we could have a punt tight end here.
Yep. Hayden Hurst, solid play. Yeah. If Pitts is out.
Yep. Saints have been really good against tight ends this year, and they were pretty good last year too. But if Kmet's going to be 18, 20, 22, and Hurst is going to be 3, then I like Hurst quite a bit.
Kmet's also not really as strong of a play with Dalton under center.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's keep it going here, y'all. 49ers Rams. This is really the main game on the slate that, obviously both teams have a ton of playoff implications. Niners need a win and they're in. If the Niners lose and the Saints win, then the Saints get in. So both these teams are playing in the 425 window. Kind of an interesting dynamic there. But yeah, Rams were 6-point favorites. It's kind of gotten beaten down. It got beat down to 5.5. Now it's at 4.5. Over-under is 44.5. The big thing, though, guys, is the Niners, man, they have 4 of their 5 corners on the COVID list right now. They could get Emmanuel Mosley back. He's dealing with an injury. I mean, even if he plays, he's probably going to be limited. They might have to activate him just because they don't have any guys. But 4 of their 5 are on COVID right now. I know Stafford has been really up and down and really bad as of late, but this is like the same exact setup we talked about last week with Stafford and all the Ravens corners being out. Proctor, what are your thoughts here on Stafford, the Rams, Michelle, and all their guys here?
Yeah, this is like the best game on the slate. Pass funnel, 49ers defense, Rams defense that has just historically struggled against Kyle Shanahan, the way that they play, because of the way Shanahan uses the intermediate part of the field. I think Trey Lance, because he, people were like, oh, he busted, but he scored 20 fantasy points and almost scored 28 if Brandon Ayuk hadn't committed a completely boneheaded holding penalty. And he'll be way less owned this week than he was last week, and I think he's just as good, if not a better play this week. So this is a game where they're going to have to push Lance, and then the Rams are going to throw because that's what they do. Sony Michel is going to be one of the higher owned plays on the slate, and I think I prefer the Rams passing game by a lot. Same spot as last week and sort of same sentiment.
Yeah. Michelle's just such a strong value. It's hard to get away from that, but I'm with you on Lance. I think this is a better spot. I had concerns, I think I said last week that I thought the Texans would show up and they kind of did, but Niners flopped. And then, until they didn't. But yeah, man, I mean, Rams they have every incentive to win the NFC West, improve their playoff seeding. So I'm with you. I think Niners or Lance is a really, really strong play here. Do we go back to Debo? Because Kittle's just been dead the last couple of weeks, man. I mean, he's like been phased out of this offense. 3 and 2 targets.
Yeah, I mean, Debo's always in play. I think he's fine to stack with Lance. He occasionally runs those deep routes. But I think Lance is fine paired with like 2 Rams too, if you want to stack it that way. Yeah.
If you don't stack Lance with Debo or Kittle, who is it, Michelle and Kupp, or do you just go with Kupp and OBJ?
Yeah, I would for tournaments. I would lean the Rams pass catchers because I think that's the way that this game really lights up. If Michelle has like a really good game, because he hasn't really played a whole lot in the passing game. So if Michelle has like a 27 carry game, then this game is probably a dud.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say Niners run defense has been really solid all year too. So yeah, I think it's definitely a funnel spot for Stafford. It's just interesting because I mean Stafford's been so bad as of late, man. I don't know if it's an injury thing. I'm not really sure, but I mean he's just been so up and down as of late. But that's my one concern. But I'm with you. I think this is the best game on the slate, and the total is not suggesting that whatsoever. I mean, it's stayed around 45, 44 all week. So, Scott, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'll just say I wish we could merge Van Jefferson and OBJ into one player. But I will say I like OBJ a little bit more. He's just seen better volume, been more productive than Van Jefferson in recent weeks, and has the better matchup on the perimeter.
Yeah, man, I think Jefferson's out of play. He actually got demoted last week. Ben Skoranek ran more routes than him.
Yeah. But I mean, McVay does that, where we saw that with Robert Woods too, where just like random weird weeks. But yeah, good call.
Yeah, fair.
Snap share went from 96% to 53%. That just like really puts him out of play.
Yeah, Van's not in play, man. I mean, he's not been a huge part of the offense at all as of late here. Yeah. Fun game.
Before we move on,
it
was just announced that Jari Alexander was activated from IR. How much does that ding Amon-Ra St. Brown in your eyes? And then it was listed that David Bakhtiari is questionable. And I wonder if that's like more evidence in favor of a Rodgers narrative, that if he's even questionable and what would be his first game back, that has to mean that has to mean like they're planning on playing and going all out with key starters. And then when would we hear that news? Would it be NFL inactives, in which case, you're scrambling to change all these lineups, or do you think we'd get Shefty bombs the night before, Johnny?
We get a lot of Schefter reports on this week, so hopefully that rings true. Schefter's really been sucking on some ass the last 2 weeks, so I think he's putting in double time.
Nice, a Schefter narrative.
Scott, that's a great call on Bakhtiari.
We're examining Schefter's motivations for the week, along with Zimmer's and Nagy's. That's great. Yeah. So, right. I mean, that's evidence in favor of that narrative. If Bakhtiari is questionable,
dude, he has not
ruling out.
Dude, he has not practiced in full all year. I mean, it could just be one of those things where they're ramping him up for the postseason and not bring him back because they get him an extra belt. Yeah, maybe. I mean, but they get him an extra week too, regardless. So, I mean, it's interesting for sure.
Right. That's a good point. What about Jari and Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Is Jari still dealing with that injury, or is it strictly COVID?
He was activated, right? Doesn't that mean he has to play? I'm dealing with COVID fog, so I'm a little all over the place today.
I gotta look into that real quick.
They activated him, right? But he hasn't played. I mean, there's a decent chance he doesn't play.
Yeah. I mean,
doesn't that mean they have to play him, right? If it's a certain number of weeks.
Jari Alexander will not play.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I just saw something. Hold up.
All right.
The Bakhtiari thing is interesting to know though, Scott, because like if he, with the full practice, I mean he has not been at practice all year.
When are you seeing that news, Johnny? Because 11 minutes ago, Schefter tweeted out the activated Jari.
He's activated from the COVID list, but he won't play.
Okay.
So he's back on the active roster, but he won't play.
Scott, hit up RotoWire. They're always really good with the news, like even for defensive guys like those.
I mean, it was 11 minutes ago, so shout out to them if they have that.
Yeah. All right, another good game. Seahawks Cardinals.
And Aaron Jones officially questionable. So that's another thing that the Packers have a chance to have some like massive nut plays on them if we can figure it out.
Gargantuan nuts.
Just the stone
gargantuan
nuts.
Just gargantuan nuts.
Yep.
You got a Randy Marsh wheelbarrow those nuts around for these Packers right here.
Yeah, man.
No, it's just I think if anybody's going to sit, it'll be Aaron Jones because he's been dealing with that knee for like 3 weeks.
Yep.
Well,
if Aaron Jones sits, we'll be rolling up our AJ Dillon or whoever else is going to start nuts right to lock.
If Aaron Jones sits, AJ Dillon sits, but Rodgers plays, Patrick Taylor then. I mean,
yep.
All right, fun game here too. Seahawks Cardinals. Cardinals are 6.5-point favorites. Over/under is 48.5. That's the highest on the main slate. It's just a point behind Chargers Raiders for the highest on Week 18 too. Chase Edmonds is out. I think James Conner's in, and James Conner's going to play every snap, man. Johnny, I think you had something last week on Conner late. What's your read here?
I think he plays this week. Last week Kingsbury was doing his thing that he does where a player is a game time decision, but they really weren't. But Connor's been practicing this week. And so is Edmonds, and they ruled out Edmonds like today. So that makes me think that Connor is going to play. And if he does, he's just as good of a play as he was last time Edmonds was out, probably even better. So I think he's a pretty strong play.
He's a top 3 play then.
Yeah.
I think
Edmonds is confirmed out.
Yeah. I think Connor's top 1, honestly.
Yeah, there you go.
I think he's top 1 with the price, with the role, home favorites, playoffs on the line. Seahawks run defense has been bad. I think he's the best running back play on the slate.
And if he ends up being out, Benjamin would be the best play.
He'd be fun too. He's got the passing down juice.
Yeah. It's a little tough because they do like Jonathan Ward, but Jonathan Ward plays a lot of special teams. Benjamin doesn't. So I do think that Benjamin is pretty far ahead of Ward, though I do think Ward would still play, 30% of the snaps or something. But Connor's the guy I want.
Yeah, and shout out to Rummy, legend Rummy in our chat right now. He's saying Bobby Wagner's out too, which is huge for Seahawks run defense. And better for Connor too. So, man, if we get, I hope we'll see. Connor was limited Wednesday and Thursday. If he gets back full today, which I haven't seen anything yet, then he's like.
Wait, why do we think either team cares about this game?
Well, dude, if the Cardinals win and the Rams lose, then they're the NFC West champions. Yeah. And the Seahawks have been like, this is the last game with Pete and Russ, so they're going to get up for it.
Right.
Yeah.
They have no chance of the bye though. Okay, I guess that's
They give a shit about the NFC West.
Teams want to win the division.
Yeah, they give a shit about that.
And then so the Seahawks, Russ is possibly playing for a new audition, and he is, showed up in full last week. Looks like he's finally healthy the last 2.5 weeks, or I guess the last 2 weeks he has looked healthy. So, I think this is this is I don't like this game as much as the Niners-Rams game, just because these are two teams that have tendencies to lay duds at times. So that's my concern with it. But I do think this is for sure the second best game on the slate.
Yeah. I mean, even though the Seahawks have played so slow and their play volume is bad, I mean, they put up points as of late. I mean, they put up 30 on the Niners, 33 on the Texans, 24 on the Bears. They had a dud against the Rams, but then they obviously dusted the Lions last week. So they've at least been putting points on the board. And if they can just threaten the Cardinals in this game, this game's gonna be hot, because we know the Cardinals will play fast if it's tight.
Their pace is up. So the Seahawks, to start the season and during the Geno era, and then for the first 3 weeks that Russ was back, they were incredibly, incredibly slow. But the last 4 or 5 weeks, they're averaging 60 offensive snaps, which is way up from that 50 number. So there's a little bit of hope there. They're also getting actual rushing production out of Penny versus Collins getting 1.5 yards a carry and DJ Dallas and whatnot. So I do think that benefits them in the fact that they're able to get rushing first downs, because Pete loves to, run the damn ball. So I think that's a positive influence on the offense as a whole.
For sure. So if we're going to stack up this game, how do we want to play it? Because there's a lot of... What's that?
I was just saying, people aren't going to play Penny again this week.
Yeah, because I think a Kyler with Penny bring back is interesting. Ugh. But on that same token, yeah, I mean, if Penny smashes, then it's probably a slow game overall.
Maybe not. I mean, last week, Osimo won everything with his full Seahawks game stack. I mean, he had Russ, Lockett, Metcalf, and Penny on those teams. So, I mean, Penny is a home run hitter way more than any of the Seahawks running backs we've seen earlier this season. Yeah. So I think he offers a little more up tempo in terms of running than we saw in weeks prior. So I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. So I would only play Penny on Seattle, Arizona fade lineups. That's how I view it, because stacking the pass catchers is something that gets the juices going. It's I mean, Christian Kirk in the premier slot funnel matchup, Seattle is giving up nothing to outside wide receivers, and they're giving up the third most fantasy points per game to slot wide receivers. Kirk has seen a massively expanded role of late. We like Zach Ertz, and guess what? It's a top 5 matchup for tight ends. Seattle sucks against tight ends. They suck against slot wide receivers. Arizona, their entire pass game runs through slot wide receivers and the tight end. And then on the other side, Arizona's secondary was really solid for the first half, but they have nothing now, and they're extremely bad. They're easy bottom 5 over the last 5 weeks. They're especially bad on the perimeter, so the matchup's slightly more in Metcalf's favor. He runs 80% of his routes from the outside versus Lockett's 50%, something like that. But I think really what you do is you just play whoever's going to be lower owned and has that tournament upside, because they both have the same upside, but it's really no one knows.
So with Edmonds getting ruled out recently and ownership projections aren't updated yet, so say Connor's going to be 30% owned and Penny's going to be 5 again.
I don't think Connor's going to be highly owned. I don't think. Maybe you're right. I don't know, but because Penny was the guy getting all the shout outs and articles this week, and then.
But I think a lot of those were him winning people best ball tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, people see that he was the number one. He's the number one running back over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think Penny's going to catch ownership, man. 130 yards in 3 of his last 4 games. I mean,
it's also garbage game script. It's a brutal matchup. Connor has the nuts matchup.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like Connor a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what.
I mean, I get Penny's been freaking awesome, and he has, but his XFP is RB3 levels. He's not a bell cow, although like last week he sort of was. And he's been awesome, but I mean, it was against the Lions. It was against the Bears. It was against Houston. I don't think Seattle wins this game. And if they win it, it's going to be through the air.
Got hurt though in the Rams game. If he hadn't and he had scored the touchdown, it'd be like a different conversation. Like people just like scroll past that one and they're like, that's his floor. But I think his floor is a little higher.
No, his floor.
They're gonna push the run regardless, and it's gonna be like not Marshawn Lynch, but also like all the Chris Carson, but also like the backup scrub running backs. Who was that Spark superstar? That guy had like a 5-week stretch where he smashed.
I forget his name, but I know you're talking about. But yeah,
Christian was it Christian Michael?
See Michael, yeah.
Yeah. You can't forget. How could you forget Christian Michael? He's a fantasy legend, man.
The one benefit you get with Rashad is that the Seahawks, when they get to the 1-yard line, they run the ball.
Yeah. Well, they've been super run heavy.
Metcalf had 3 touchdowns last week.
Yeah. I was just going to say, foundationally, their run game, they've been just
a pass funnel defense.
Yeah, but I was just going to say foundationally, their run game has been everything. Last 4 weeks, they are 57% run heavy on early downs. That's the 5th highest rate in the league. Yeah, no, 6th highest rate in the league.
And Russ is better for it. Like maybe all those narratives about Russ needs the run game. Russ can't do it on his own. He's not a top 10 QB. Maybe that stuff's true. Who knows?
Well, I think one thing that was a problem for Russ for weeks was like they would run the ball for 1 yard and then like, okay, Russ, fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So
yeah, he was always in bad down and distance. The other thing too is, we know what Russ does best. If you can't, if your run game isn't good enough and you guys, their defense is constantly playing too high against you and you can't get 5 yards on, too high looks consistently with the run game. Those safeties aren't going to bite down and play action stuff as near as much. That's what this offense needs. So yeah, interesting game, man. Really interesting game. Ertz is mega chalk, right? At least on DK. Yeah.
Kirk is probably just as good of a play.
He's probably a better play.
Yeah.
It's like Zach Ertz, mega chalk. When has that ever gone well?
When any tight end mega chalk has never gone well this year.
Yeah.
The volume for Ertz is awesome, but it's not like he's, getting these Andrews 30-yard downfield type targets.
He was written off as dust, just like what?
Yeah, by me, that was a bad call on my part. Definitely not dust.
Yeah.
Johnny was saying he was going to outscore Kyle Pitts at the same time. So,
well, I thought he was going to outscore Dallas Goedert, on the Eagles. But he instead is outscoring him on the Cardinals. So Ertz still he's still good. He's just not great like he used to be.
Yeah.
I wonder what his upside is. Obviously he had the 2 touchdown game, but I don't think he really has a whole lot of 25-point games in his wheelhouse. Whereas I think Gronk, Andrews, that's probably it. Gronk and Andrews probably have that.
No, Dan Arnold. Dan Arnold's got 25 points.
What are they going to bench Trevor Lawrence?
Here's what they got to do. They got to get Bortles back for 1 week and then let him chuck to Arnold 15 times. That's what they got to do.
You're speaking my language.
I know. Yeah, fun game, man. We got to keep it moving, though. Panthers, Bucks. Bucks are 8-point favorites. This look ahead was 14 last week, so I'm thinking the markets, and this has not moved at all, by the way. It was Bucks -8 on Tuesday. It's still Bucks -8. So I'm thinking we see a half from Brady, maybe 3/4. curious to get your guys' thoughts on it. Real quick, Rojo's out, JPP's out, Shaq Barrett's out for the defense. Panthers side, Robbie Anderson has a quad. I haven't seen anything more on him today. I don't really care, but just thought I'd bring it up because Terrace Marshall's on IR too. So, I mean, they have like Brandon Zylstra and DJ Moore, and that's really it with Panthers pass catchers. But how do you guys think the Bucs play this? Because I've gone back and forth all week. I mean, they can't really do too much. They can get up to the number 2 seed, which I guess, if the Packers were to lose, they would technically have the home field advantage throughout the NFC. So that's somewhat valuable for them. But at the same time, I mean, they're so beat up. Evans is coming off a hammy. Gronk's at the end of, a long season, and he's older. They definitely have some incentive to rest their guys, but I kind of believe Arians when he says he's going to play his starters quite a bit.
Yeah. Like Arians is really annoying, but usually when he says like, I'm playing this guy, they do it. I do think we probably see Evans get his 1,000 yards and then maybe they come out.
He's a little more than 50 away.
Yeah, I was excited about Keyshawn Vaughn, and then it looks like Gio Bernard might be back for this game too. So
they're going to play
that
left as well. They're going to play left as well.
So we may end up with a 3-back rotation, with maybe half of a game of Brady. I don't know. I do think we could see a lot more Gio than you would think because they want to get him ready for the postseason. Once Lenny got dinged and Rojo got hurt, but I don't know. It's hard to get excited about Bucs when you really have no idea exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, if we knew Brady was full go in this spot, like let's say they had to lock up a playoff spot or lock up the NFC South, like this line would be 15, 16, 17. So that's what gives me the pause is that we'll see, them build a lead and then just pull Brady and we'll get Gabbard and, all the backups.
I will say Brady has talked about this like with the recent preseasons that in his older years, he prefers to play rather than have like extended layoffs. So I do think he plays. It's just a matter of how much, because he's played in every preseason with the Bucs. Arians has been like, Brady's not going to play. And then like he ends up doing more in the preseasons than Arians had hoped for.
Yeah. And Scott, your point about Aaron Rodgers, I mean, Brady's chasing MVP too, man. I mean, he's got 40 touchdowns.
What if Rodgers plays the full game and he stinks, and then Brady's like, hey, if I just toss like 4 touchdowns real quick?
It could happen, dude. It could happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Panthers defense, they got up last week better than I thought they would, especially with all their guys coming back from COVID. But I mean, they're dead. Do we think Rule's back? You think they're going to bring back Rule?
They're saying they are. He's so gives me heartburn thinking about him coming back.
Yeah, they need to make a line of Tums after Matt Rule.
Yeah. Panthers are like a dead team walking though, I think. Like Darnold, like what does Darnold have to play for? What does Cam have to play for? Robbie's dinged. DJ's been banged up over the last couple of weeks. I mean, that's just I don't think I can play a Panther.
Darnold's passing prop last week was like 192.5, and it was the easiest $500 I've ever made in my life. Like that was the easiest shit ever. Yeah. That's the other thing, man. Is like if the Bucs get up 17-0, they have no incentive to bring Brady and all those guys out there. I will say Gronk has a lot of like contract-based incentives to play for here. He needs 7 catches to get to 55, 85 yards to get to 750, and those have like pretty significant bonuses for him. So Gronk is at least motivated, but just something interesting there. All right, last game here, guys. Patriots Dolphins. By the way, we got a fucking round of applause. We've talked through every game, week 18 weeks. Last game, let's get it up, boys. Patriots Dolphins. 6-point favorites. Patriots 6-point favorites. Over-unders 40. Big question in this game is whether or not Dame Harris plays. Patriots have a less than 1% chance at the number 1 seed. They need the Chiefs to lose. They would need the Bengals to lose, Titans to lose. So, I don't think they're going to be they're not going to rest their guys. Belichick has not rested his guys basically ever. I mean, Brady played all 16 games every single year. And Patriots had a ton of first-round buys in those years, obviously. So I don't think they're going to rest their guys. But the big question here is Dame Harris, because if Harris misses and they kind of give him some rest with that hamstring to get him right into the playoffs, then Ramondre is obviously an excellent play. I know this is a Damian Harris show. This is a Damian Harris stand show. But, Johnny, I think Ramondre would be really strong if Dame were to sit.
Yeah, I think Ramondre is even interesting if we don't get word. I wouldn't be shocked if Damian just doesn't play much. Obviously Ramondre would be he would be up there with Connor and, Singletary and all those other guys in the similar price range as just as good of a play if Damian were out. But I think there's some interesting theory to having a little bit of him, even if they're both active, just in case anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Dame's he's been dealing with this hamstring since that Bills game, and he's been awesome. So I think they would probably take it really, really easy on him if he were to play. So good point on Ramondre. Man, I mean that's kind of all I got here, man. I don't know if I want to play Dolphins. I mean Waddle might be the only guy, but Scott, what's Waddle's matchup looking like here through the slot?
I mean, it's better than getting shadowed by J.C. Jackson, but it's a bottom 12 matchup on paper. He needs 2 receptions to break the rookie record.
He needs 3.
Yeah, I mean, so he's a lock for 3.
Yeah,
but what did he do beyond that? I don't know. I don't have great takes on this.
Okay. Yeah,
I still have a lot of work to do with Slate breakdown. Read a bunch of interviews and still have a bunch more X's and O's sort of matchup stuff to look at.
Yeah. When you're going through interviews, Scott, let me know what you hear about let me know what you think about the Vikings and what Zimmer said, and see if we're locked up on that, because it seemed Zimmer was emphatic. And there's one other team I was going to ask you about.
I think you were dead on with Minnesota, regardless of what I read.
Okay.
I did read an interview with Brevin Jordan after we brought him up, and Texans totally want to play spoiler to Tennessee. They want that so bad. So
yeah. Well, they're bringing all their coaches back. Cully said that their offensive coordinator Tim Kelly, who is a holdover from the O'Brien staff, they said he's going to be back. So Texans.
No, those guys are going to get fired. Are you kidding?
Nah, dude, they're bringing Tim Kelly back. There was a report out earlier today.
David Culley's not getting fired?
Mm-mm.
No, man, they've outperformed all expectations.
Yeah, I would have been shocked if they fired their guys, man. This roster is it's practice squad guys. Half of their roster is literally practice squad guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy, especially with all their COVID shit that they've been through the last couple of weeks.
I think the best argument for Culley is just that they show up every week.
Yeah,
it's hard to get guys to show up when your team sucks so bad.
Well, I mean, look at the Jags. They're going through the same thing again because, even with Bevel and the coaching change, they've just gotten stomped. So, yeah, I mean, huge hats off to Culley.
Yeah. Halfway through the season, I was like, damn, David Culley's so fired. But now I've changed my mind.
All right, you guys want to make a lineup? I didn't know if we could screen share, but we can. Then just message. So we got some time here. If y'all want to make one,
let's do it.
All right. Let me get this set up here, Ben. I didn't have the optimizer pulled up.
I will say I think I like Waddle a little bit. We didn't really mention him too much. I do think the Dolphins are still sort of in figuring out what's going on with Tua mode. Tua had a pretty horrible game last week, so he did want. I think Tua wants to end on a positive note. Not that they have much to play for. It's also Flores and Belichick, so I think there's argument to be made for the Dolphins. But I don't. I don't feel that strongly about it.
Yeah. Let me see here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, man. Tua has everything to play for, man. Like starting job next year. I think he's going to be really motivated. Ben, do you have this? I don't know if you can hear or respond to me. Okay.
Looks like we're up.
All right, cool. Yeah, I see it now. Sweet. What's your starting point this week, Johnny?
Well, I think it's like deciding if you're going to play. Like if you're doing a single lineup, the first thing to decide is like, am I going to play one of the rushing quarterbacks like Taysom or Lance, or am I going to stack up a game with a passing quarterback?
Yeah.
I feel like this has to be the week for, super stacks, right?
Someone had asked a question in our chat about, that stacking is harder this week. And to your point there, Scott, I think this is an even better week for stacks because, a lot of the games are going to just kind of bust. But the few games that really go off can really go off this week. You've got your banged up defensive guys going on the IR at the end of the season and teams still showing up to play offense. So with you there. But we just have to decide if which one we want to do.
Yeah. Man. We got to get Lance's projection fixed here.
I mean, it's like you got the Huntley, the Lance, the Taysoms, where you can then build sort of like mini stacks from other games, or we can go for build a Rodgers team.
Let's hold off on the Rodgers team. I think I'm feeling a Niners-Rams game stack because I'm with you. That was kind of the game that I earmarked. Either that or Seahawks-Cardinals.
So do we want to start with Lance and Cup and see where we can go from there?
Yeah, let's do that. Lance and Cup. All right. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and just lock in Connor. I'm going to make the executive decision on that one. So we're locking in Connor. We got Cup and Lance in there.
Want to go ahead and put in Dan Arnold to give us the savings?
Yeah, I was going to say we're probably going to have to punt tight end if we got Cup. And Connor and probably one more expensive back in there. Make sure. Oh, yeah, Arnold needs a projection too. All right.
All right. And then Scott, who's your favorite GPP play on the slate? Like middle ownership kind of guy.
Rodgers.
We're gonna make a super flex lineup.
I don't know. I have COVID fog right now. It's in the Slate breakdown. Read it tomorrow. I may or may not pull an all-nighter tonight.
Get yourself a couple freaking bins of coffee, man.
If you all-nighter tonight, you're going to be so mad tomorrow when they're like, so-and-so's not playing.
Oh, absolutely. But it's going to happen.
That'll happen.
I liked Montgomery and Mooney, Singletary, Jonathan Taylor, Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, I kind of like a little Vikings mini stack, man. Like Mooney and Jefferson.
Do that.
I like that. Jefferson's going to be chalk, but I don't think Mooney is.
Yeah, it's a good point.
No. Yeah, definitely not.
Cooks, liked Cooks a lot. Gage, Kirk, Ertz.
We're probably going to need to play Cleveland defense since we're playing Jefferson and Cup.
I like Cleveland defense anyway, so.
Yeah, there's no other punts.
Yeah. What, you don't want to play the Jets?
Well, it is a weather game.
Yeah. Allen did throw 3 picks last week. Brown's at the punt.
Let's see.
Dolphins are somewhat interesting too, but they need Mac to throw.
Who do we have in this lineup right now?
We got Lance, Cup, Jefferson, Mooney, mini stack, and we punted with Arnold
and Connor.
Yeah, we got Connor too. Yeah, so we need to flex in another running back.
We're gonna have to punt a wide receiver, I think. We have 4,700 per for running back and a flex.
Did anyone have a Cyril Grayson take? I saw a lot on him early in the week. But
I forgot to bring him up. I think he's a pretty good play because I think he plays even when Brady and Evans come out.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a really good point.
So I do like him.
Tyler Johnson's dead too, by the way. I think Brady just hates his guts.
Yeah. The problem with Cyril is he's like not that cheap.
Yeah, if you were like 3,700 like Barrios last week, then I'd be about it. But 4,400 is not bad. We could play him. What would that get us to? 5,200 at last running back spot. Let me just look through. Burkhead just got a fat contract too. Ooh, where's Foreman's 57? I love Foreman, man. He's going to be super chalk, but I do like him.
Just trying to see who.
Foreman, Pirine. Yeah. Man, if we knew Chris Evans or if we knew Pirine was going to sit like you were saying, Johnny, then Evans would be easy.
Yeah. And I think we're going to get one of those, but we don't have them yet. That's what's so tough, is not quite knowing where the value is going to be. Who's the best 4K wide receiver?
Allen Robinson.
I'm
joking. Crowder's 46. Yeah, it's tough.
I think we're gonna have to lose Cup or Jefferson.
I mean, if we're gonna play Lance, we gotta play Cup because Rams need Rams to go off there. So I'll pull man. I just really like that Jefferson.
Osborne cost. Why don't we play Osborne?
Okay. Down for that. Where was I? All right.
Then we can play Foreman and Singletary or Foreman and one of the other 6Ks.
How much if we put Foreman in there, how much do we have left here?
I think 6,300.
Nice. Okay. We could play Ramondre and come up to what would that get us here? Browns are 26. That'll get us up to 3K.
Play Minnesota or
that's kind of it.
Yep.
That doesn't really do much for us there. Let's see if there's a 63. Waddle. We can play Waddle. Let's do that.
Waddle or Singletary, though?
Ooh. What do you think, Scott?
Because I think with this team, like playing Osborne, playing Mooney, playing Arnold, I think it's fairly low owned.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good spot for Singletary, and he's gotten way more goal line stuff as of late. Yeah, let's do Singletary. Optimize that. We got to fix Lance's projection, get Arnold in there, but I'm going to screenshot this. Let's see here. Reset. Keenum's in the optimizer to get up to Taylor and Cup. Interesting.
Treadwell goat.
Yep, there, boy. Alrighty, y'all. That's gonna do it. I mentioned off the top, but we will be back next week for wild card divisional round and going through playoff stuff. It's about that time. But everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us all year. This has always been a lot of fun to do to kind of cap off the week. Yeah, just a good time, man. For Scott, for Johnny, for Ben behind the glass, making everything look good. I'm Graham. Catch you guys next week.